Hey guys, Louis here, and I'm coming back from the West Garden. I wanted to do some basic maintenance here because we had 2 weeks of severe heat. I did not get out of the house, and 2 weeks of heat, and look what it did. Look what that heat, even though this patch of limelight hydrangeas got some water, that's how hot North Carolina gets. Because it burned all my limelights, and these are big. Now look how big they are, even bigger, big as my hand. But at the top of it, this is the west side. The western sun, the setting sun, go that way, and as the heat really penetrated and baked this part of the garden, it cooked our limelights. So that'll be done for the season, but that's okay. They did perform and they gave us a lot of blooms this season. But this is what August gardening looks like in North Carolina. There's a lot of maintenance now, along with the heat. Look at all that weed. Look at all those crabgrass growing behind that rose. The rose is also suffering from some form of rust. This is David Austin. It's called Tranquility. And look at all those canes that come from the crown of the plant and now are just arcing all the way down and into the pavement. The project that I will do today is just to concentrate on this section of the planting bed. I'm going to be uprooting most of those weeds, clear up some of the irises that are over here, and see if I can extend the work down that way as well. But what I want to do is control. I am not going to prune this cane, but what I'm going to do is a process called crowning, where I will put all the branches back to the root ball of the plant and give that plant a little bit more body and heft, and we will control the size right over where the root is located. So that's what I will do, but before that, I'm going to show you some basic equipment that I will use. I do need some gloves. I have string if I need to really tie the branches down, a pair of scissors, my favorite pruners, and some landscape staples that we will use to secure everything when we start shaping the size of that bush. Before I do that, I want you to take a look. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but look, this Artemisia we bought this as a small little container pot. And if you go deep, I had no idea that it will become woody. But there, that's the crown of the plant. Hard to believe that when we got this, it's just the size from my head up to the tip. That's how big it was when we first got it. And I'm not going to remove it. Of course, in the fall, I'm going to trim this, but I love the scent of it. I also like the bluish, hazy, gray color of it, that it gives this part of the garden a nice anchor and texture as well. But look at this rose. This cane that's over here probably is about 4 feet long. So I'm not gonna cut that. I will be shaping it and putting it back into the crown like I said, so I'll show you what I mean. Okay, surprisingly tonight, it's actually 7:30 in the evening. We have the breeze and it's a whole lot cooler. This is a perfect time, even though it's 7:30 at night, for me to clear all of this up. My trusty knee pad and start pulling out these weeds. Okay, got my trug. I'm gonna put right over here. Alright. The irises are tough. That's not gonna get, it's gonna get killed. This one, right here, look how big this thing is. It's gotten so big and long. Let me tell you something about branches of roses. Any rose can grow along There we go. A long cane. Now, to allow for more blooms to happen on any rose, what I learned is if you keep the rose branch on a horizontal level like this, all of these nodes where the leaves come out of would be the area where a branch would break off, would break open and would grow. Now, it happened over here, as I said, for any cane of rose that come from the principal root ball. When they come out this way, this is what we call a cane. And if you leave the cane at a horizontal up to a 45-degree angle, you will see these coming up and would grow into another cane. This is the primary cane. The lateral, this one, the lateral or the secondary cane is where new flowers, new growth will come out of. So I'm applying that principle to this type of rose for now, where you can see how horizontal they have come out from the root ball, and there's another one that came out at a horizontal or it arches back down. It doesn't matter because from here, if you take a look, you see that little nubbin? That's the potential growth for a new stem to come out of, and it will grow upwards and vertically, which this branch is now doing. It's come up from a growth point, which is a leaf node right there. Leaf node underneath or within the leaf node, look at that. That's a clear example. That swollen area right there is a clear example of what could be a potential new branch that will grow if we take care of this root. Look at this. There's a leaf node, but look at that. There's another potential growth for any of these new branches. The blossom, the bloom, it appears at the end of each stem. How am I going to make this cane grow and produce more of those branches? What I do is I clip them. I take off leaves every 2 or 3 leaf nodes. I start with the ones that are pointing downward, and I leave the ones that are pretty much on top. Okay, so this would be the bottom layer. I remove any foliage that's on the bottom layer. Not only am I stimulating the rose to form new branches, I also am removing energy or preserving the energy that this rose is giving off to maintain these leaves. These leaves really have no purpose right now. If I want to have it grow more branches on the top. Earlier, what I want to do is bend this backwards and have this go over the plant and be secured right over here, that we don't break the branch. But with staples, pretty much you're securing it down in the ground. That branch, hopefully the staple won't come off, but that branch is now going to form more branches going up this way as well. See what I'm doing? I'm creating the basic structure for how this grows will now slowly grow. And if our principle works really well, you'll have more branches going that way and more branches going this way. Like at the moment, what I did was I bent and moved that cane. That's the 5-foot long cane. That cane right there and that over there, and spiraled it and moved it around and over and in the back. So you see the skeleton basically of where the new growth will come out of from that side. Now the middle part of the rose still has some short short canes that I didn't want to move and bend, but there are 3 other canes that I was able to move away from the path. This is the first one on this side, where I moved it from there, bend it back and in, stapled it into the ground. And here's another one, a clear one, and moved from there sideways down and in, and the third one is right there, and I moved that all the way back in and toward the back with those blooms that I was able to pack into the ground. So we'll see the progress of this rose for the next 2 months. Okay guys, it's the day after. Yesterday evening is when I started reshaping and pegging the rose out here on the west garden. This is the reason why I had to do it. That rose is right at the center of both the pergola when you climb up to it. So that's the rose right there. What I did was I curved all the canes of the rose into itself and behind itself to create that bush, so to speak. So it's going to grow upwards that way with all those branches that I'm planning on having break open coming from the main cane. So this is what it looks like from this vantage point. So on one's way up to the steps, by the way, check out that thyme that I planted in the spring. It's just liking its current position right now. But this is what I did, coming from the top and looking at it from the top. So now we have the framework, the basic skeleton of how and all the other foliage is going to grow. I mentioned this yesterday, previous part of this video. This is what we want to grow coming from the main canes. This is a branch, a secondary branch that broke open or grew coming from the main cane, and this is the type of branch that we want to develop along each interval by the leaf node coming up from this branch. When it gets to a point where we have more branches, then I will give you an update on it. I hope you liked this video and learned something new regarding a new way of shaping your rose. It is to peg the rose, to put the canes and peg them down into the ground. Would you do me a favor and hit on that subscribe button, hit on that like button, and share this video with your friends. There's a lot more content coming up. The next video to complete this series, I'll show you a different way on how to control and shape your rose, and that is called pillaring a rose. But for now, this is Louie coming from the backyard, and we'll see you back here in Acorn Hill. Bye-bye.